So the gingerbread man says, "Run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man." And we've all been there in the heart of our addiction, where we've thrown a big FU to the rest of the world and we're running towards our addiction. We're running in our addiction. And we tell them, "Run as fast as you can, but you're not going to catch me. I'm that addicted asshole man." And in the story of the gingerbread man, he's created by this woman, and she represents that nurturing hand that provides and teaches you lessons and has a hand in your creation. And that represents our family, our friends, our upbringing. And hopefully we had at least one significant person in our upbringing that had a hand in teaching us the lessons of life and telling us that we were worthy and that we had some value in life. But like the gingerbread man, there comes a point in our lives where we want to venture out into the unknown. And many times, especially addicts, we're the worst. We have that pride. I can do it on my own. I'm going to go out there and conquer the world. But we run into addiction and it begins to kick our ass. And that's the thing with the addiction. We don't recognize it, and we still continue to turn our backs to those that wish the best for us. We throw that metaphorical middle finger in the air and say, "F you, you can't catch me, this is my life." And we run harder and further into the darkness of addiction. And in the story, the woman and her husband are chasing after the gingerbread man, just trying to get him back home because they know his vulnerability. They know the gingerbread man isn't made of steel and concrete. He's made of sugar and flour and all the things that could dissolve. He's very vulnerable. That represents us as the addicts, man. We're vulnerable. We ran away before we were finished. We ran away before we knew all the lessons of life. And we get caught up in addiction, and we're stuck in that stagnant position. Many of us are stuck in that adolescent behavior because we got involved in addiction at an early age, and we didn't quite grow up. So we're still kind of stuck in that mindset of a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old. And the rest of the world is chasing after us with good intentions, wanting us to rein us in and bring us back so they can continue to kind of guide us and mentor us and mold us into something that's actually lasting and sustainable in this world that can be vicious, that can be hard. And many of us in addiction, we don't know how to handle life when it gets tough, so we turn back to the addiction. We lose a job, we lose a loved one, we lose a relationship. Life gets tough and slaps us in the face, and we don't handle those emotions, we don't regulate those. We turn to the addiction, and we run farther into the darkness of that addiction, like the gingerbread man, running from those that were only wanting to protect him. So in the story, he comes to a river, and that river again represents life, man. It can be vicious, it can be flooding, it can have on the surface level seem calm, but it has these undercurrents that can drown you and take your very life. And we all come to those. We've been in those situations where there's this river, something that needs to be crossed, but we just don't know how. We don't have the resources. We're not fully developed because we ran away from the home, that metaphorical place that was trying to teach us the lessons and strengthen us so that we could not only face, but conquer life and cross the rivers that will inevitably show up in our life. But this sly fox comes along, the sly and cunning fox. And we know what this represents. This represents, most of our life. This represents the so-called friends. This represents the substance itself. It always slyly comes along and says, "Hey, I can help you cross that river, man, no worries." And so the fox says, "Hey, why don't you climb up on my back? Now I'll swim across and you can get to the other side safely." And that's what these friends, so-called friends, and that's what addictions always promise us, right? Oh, tough situation, just climb on, man, I'll get you across and then you can leave, man. You be on your own, I'll just help you out for a little bit. But we know that's lies, man. The addiction for a little bit, it doesn't turn into a little bit. It turns into a week, a month, a year, decades, and our life doesn't even represent what we used to know. So the gingerbread man in his vulnerability says, yeah, sure, I need you. I need you, your lying and your deception, and I'll climb on your back. And so the water starts rising and rising and getting closer to the bag. So the fox, in his cunning way, says, hey, why don't you just climb up on my head a little bit so you don't get wet? Gingerbread man says, yeah, sure, sounds good, right? Addiction and those cunning friends and the darkness of the world always sounds good when we're vulnerable, when we need something in those dire straits. And so the water keeps rising a little bit, and the fox says, hey, why don't you get a little bit closer, get closer down to my mouth or my nose. I'll lift my head up a little bit and just kind of inch down that way, and you'll be all right. You'll be good. And without much choice, or he's going to drown and fall into the water and dissolve, he says, yeah, sure. And that's us. There's a lot of times where our back's to the wall and we don't think that there's any other option, so we run to what we know. That sly fox. And the fox knows what he's doing. He's getting him closer to his mouth so that he can actually eat and devour the gingerbread man. And that's addiction. That's those friends. That's the deception and darkness of the world that's always trying to get us to inch into our demise. And so he eventually gets so close to the mouth that the fox begins nibbling on him. And the gingerbread man's like, oh my gosh, I'm 3/4 gone. And the fox keeps saying, but we're almost there, we're almost there. And he takes another bite, and the gingerbread man's like, oh God, man, I'm half gone. And many of us, if we admit it, that's where we've been, maybe where we're currently at. We feel like, God, 3/4 or a quarter of my life's gone, or half of my life's gone. And we begin to feel sorry for ourselves, right? You've been there, I've been there. We feel like we're too far gone, and sometimes we feel like we're just, there's no returning to who we could be. I'm a quarter gone, I'm halfway gone, there's just no return. I might as well keep going. And the gingerbread man thinks he's going to ride this out, and eventually he says, before that last bite, oh my God, I'm almost all the way gone. And the fox gobbles him up and swims to the other side and moves on to his next victim. That's where we are, where we've been. We've allowed addiction, the sly fox, to begin to slowly nibble away at us. And eventually it will be our demise. We will be all the way gone. Addiction, it's undefeated in its overall battles. It's encounters. And so we've got to begin to realize that we're not even going to battle that addiction in that sense. We're not going to confront it head on. We're not going to show up in our vulnerabilities, or it will devour us. The gingerbread man, he left his upbringing, he left that place of mentorship, he left that place of awareness, he left that place that meant to strengthen him before he was fully disciplined to take on the world. Wherever you are in your current situation, maybe you're in rehab, been to rehab, thinking about rehab, maybe you're going to meetings, not going to meetings, maybe you're just facing yourself and who you need to be. I encourage you to continue to do that, because if you leave too early, or if you begin to neglect those things that have helped you and strengthened you and prepared you to fight that addiction and avoid the sly fox, then eventually it will devour you. It will eat your ass up. We've known people, we've been in this too long to not know someone that's lost their life to the sly fox of addiction. There is people that care for you, and I don't care where you have to find that, whether that's in a meeting, whether that's in a group, whether it's listening to this, whatever it may be. Find someone that can help you, that can guide you and go along with you on this journey and be a hand in helping create who you are. We've ran for too long telling the rest of the world that they can't catch us because we're invincible. We're only one move away from proving that we're not invincible. We know that Sly Fox can eat our ass up in an instant. There's people that love you. There's people that care about you. If no one else, I do. And I hope maybe my voice can inspire you and be with you in those moments of weakness or despair, just to keep encourage and inspire you to keep going. You got this. I love you guys.